The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Anuradha Nakshatra. Anuradha Nakshatra belongs to the fire tattva and is ruled by Saturn, with Mitra, the deity of friendship and devotion, as its guiding force. When Venus is placed in Anuradha, intimacy becomes loyal, emotionally intense, and spiritually committed. Venus here seeks bonding through emotional endurance, trust building, and heartfelt loyalty. Despite being a fire tattva nakshatra, Anuradha tempers its passion with Saturnian restraint, making intimacy feel both magnetic and deeply respectful. Understanding how this fire nakshatra interacts elementally with others is essential for sustaining balanced intimacy. With earth tattva nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Anuradha finds grounding for its intense emotional flames. Earth provides stability, practical love languages, and sensual patience that complements Anuradha's longing for dependable, secure affection. These pairings often evolve into long-term commitments marked by quiet devotion, physical closeness, and emotional strength. Anuradha's depth is respected, and intimacy becomes a slow-burn process rooted in trust. However, Earth partners may find Anuradha's intensity heavy at times, especially if emotional expression is not openly shared. With water tattva nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, Venus in Anuradha faces emotional misalignment. Water tends to operate through fluid, intuitive, and often emotionally complex modes of bonding, which can feel unclear or passive to fire's more direct style. Anuradha may crave clarity, defined commitment, and emotional loyalty, while water may respond in moods or silence. Intimacy can suffer from unspoken tension, emotional suppression, or withdrawal unless balanced by supportive Moon-Venus aspects or strong 4th and 7th house connections. With fire tattva nakshatras, Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Hasta, and Uttara Falguni, Venus in Anuradha finds kinship in drive, emotional intensity, and passionate loyalty. These unions often express intimacy through shared goals, admiration, and expressive commitment. However, with both partners wired for assertion and sometimes ego-centered desire, there is a risk of control struggles, miscommunication, or push-pull dynamics if emotional maturity is lacking. Still, this combination can thrive when balanced by mutual respect and emotional patience. Pairings with air tattva nakshatras, Mula, Jyeshta, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana offer cooperation at the elemental level. Air gives space and intellectual exchange, which helps Anuradha balance its emotional heat. These pairings often have strong mental rapport and allow emotional intensity to be processed through conversation or detached reflection. The challenge, however, is air's occasional aloofness or inconsistency, which may frustrate Anuradha's longing for emotional solidity and commitment in intimacy. Ether tattva nakshatras, Ravati Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada enhance Venus in Anuradha's devotional instincts. Ether blends beautifully with fire, offering space for spiritual unfolding, emotional surrender, and karmic union. These pairings often lead to highly transformative intimacy, where the relationship becomes a channel for both healing and personal evolution. Anuradha's need to feel emotionally chosen finds fulfillment when love is expressed through soul-level depth and forgiveness. Water remains the most difficult elemental partner for Venus in Anuradha. Fire's need for defined emotional movement is at odds with water's flowing and ambiguous nature. This leads to intimacy becoming one-sided, with Anuradha pushing for emotional declarations while water retreats into its inner world. These relationships require conscious communication and strong Saturn or Moon influences to avoid emotional distancing or exhaustion. Venus in Anuradha thrives in intimacy with Earth partners who offer loyalty and grounding, air partners who provide perspective and dialogue, and ether partners who meet the soul through love. Fire pairings spark shared passion, but need emotional regulation to avoid burnout. Water can be emotionally enriching only if both partners commit to consistent, heartfelt communication. For Anuradha, elemental compatibility must support emotional sincerity, loyalty, and spiritual trust for intimacy to feel authentic and lasting. The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra. Uttara Bhadrapada Nakshatra is an ether tattva nakshatra ruled by Saturn, with Ahir Budnya, the serpent of the deep sea, as its deity. When Venus is placed in Uttara Bhadrapada, intimacy becomes serene, mystical, and deeply introspective. This nakshatra leans toward spiritual loyalty and emotional endurance, expressing love with quiet commitment rather than flamboyant display. Venus here seeks soulful bonding, emotional solitude within companionship, and long-term emotional evolution. As an ether nakshatra, Uttara Bhadrapada can integrate with all tattvas, yet its reserved and contemplative nature requires the right elemental tone for intimacy to feel nourishing and true. With Earth Tattva Nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada finds stability, sensual simplicity, and patient support. Earth partners offer grounding through physical presence and reliability, which aligns beautifully with this Venus placement's need for loyalty and consistency. These relationships feel dependable and emotionally safe. However, Earth may at times expect more outward affection or clarity than Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada naturally shows. The bond strengthens when Earth trusts the silent depth that this Venus radiates. With water tattva nakshatras, Pushya, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada finds a natural emotional rhythm and intuitive synergy. Water encourages emotional sharing and provides the kind of safe vulnerability this nakshatra quietly longs for. These unions often feel karmic, healing, and spiritually fulfilling. Venus here responds well to water's emotional depth, provided it doesn't become overly expectant or emotionally volatile. With the right boundaries, this pairing produces sacred, emotionally integrated intimacy. Air Tattva nakshatras, Jyeshtha, Mula, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana offer mental stimulation and non-intrusive emotional space. Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada appreciates air's respect for solitude and detachment, especially in the early stages of a relationship. These pairings can feel intellectually enriching and emotionally breathable. However, if air lacks emotional presence or avoids depth, Venus here may begin to feel unseen or emotionally unfed. Balance is achieved when intellectual rapport is combined with sincere emotional grounding. With fire tattva nakshatras, Chitra, Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni, Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada experiences activation, visibility, and growth. Fire brings vitality and expressive energy, which can help draw this reserved nakshatra out of emotional silence. These relationships thrive when fire channels passion with maturity and emotional sensitivity. Without balance, fire's need for response and intensity may clash with Uttara Bhadrapada's quiet emotional processing or long emotional cycles. When paired with other ether tattva nakshatras, Dhanishta, Shatabisha, Purva Bhadrapada, and Ravat, Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada reaches its highest octave. These unions are subtle, spiritually woven, and built on intuitive recognition. There is often a nonverbal intimacy, a knowing without words. These connections tend to evolve slowly but deeply, rooted in emotional silence and karmic familiarity. Physical intimacy is often a byproduct of spiritual resonance and shared emotional maturity. Despite its natural harmony with all tattvas, challenges for Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada emerge when other elements push for faster emotional access, continuous affirmation, or overt passion. Fire can feel too aggressive, air too mentally removed, water too emotionally urgent, and earth too materially focused. Unless these elements consciously attune to the slow, sacred, and deep nature of ether's love language. Venus in Uttara Bhadrapada thrives with ether nakshatras that share its inner depth, water nakshatras that match its emotional integrity, and earth nakshatras that offer loyal, grounded affection. Air can sustain freedom and respect its process, while fire must bring patience and soulful recognition. For intimacy to flourish, this Venus placement needs trust, silence, spiritual connection, and the freedom to feel deeply without pressure to immediately express. The Tatva Intimacy Compatibility of Nakshatras, Pushya Nakshatra. Pushya Nakshatra belongs to the water tattva and is ruled by Saturn, with Brihaspati, the spiritual guru, as its presiding deity. When Venus is placed in Pushya, intimacy becomes deeply nurturing, cautious, and infused with a sense of duty and emotional responsibility. Venus here expresses love not through extravagance, but through quiet support, loyal presence, and emotional protection. As a water nakshatra, Pushya seeks emotional security and calm predictability in close relationships. However, its elemental compatibility can significantly influence how intimacy flourishes or falters. With Earth Tattva nakshatras, Ashwini, Bharani, Kritika, Rohini, and Mrigashirsha, Venus in Pushya finds one of its most naturally cooperative expressions. Earth grounds water, creating a steady flow of emotional and sensual intimacy. Pushya's emotional caution is well met by Earth's patience and loyalty, allowing trust to build over time. These pairings are marked by comfort, reliability, and consistent affection. They form the kind of intimacy that grows deeper with time, often emphasizing shared values, physical closeness, and emotional endurance. Pairings with other water tattvas, Punarvasu, Ashlesha, Magha, and Purva Falguni, enhance emotional bonding and shared sensitivity. Venus in Pushya resonates easily with these nakshatras, creating relationships built on mutual understanding, compassion, and subtle emotional communication. Intimacy in these unions is restorative, safe, and quietly passionate. However, the challenge lies in emotional inertia or becoming too emotionally enmeshed, leading to stagnation or overdependence unless supported by active planetary placements elsewhere. Fire Tattva Nakshatras, Chitra Swati, Vishaka, Anuradha, and Uttara Falguni create elemental friction with Venus in Pushya. Fire's assertive, passionate, and expressive style may feel too aggressive or emotionally volatile for Pushya's protective and introverted energy. Intimacy in such combinations may be physically intense but emotionally exhausting. Pushya may retreat in the face of Fire's confrontational style or impulsive expressions, leading to misunderstandings or cycles of overreaction and withdrawal in emotional bonding. The pairing with air tattva nakshatras like Jeshta, Mula, Purva Ashada, Uttara Ashada, and Shravana is particularly challenging. Air values freedom, movement, and mental stimulation, while Pushya seeks rootedness and emotional depth. Venus in Pushya may feel emotionally invisible or dismissed in such relationships, as air partners may not respond to unspoken emotional cues. Over time, this mismatch may result in detachment, passive aggressiveness, or emotional isolation, especially if other planets fail to bridge the elemental gap. Ether Tattva Nakshatras, Rivati, Shatabisha, Dhanishta, Purva Bhadrapada, and Uttara Bhadrapada provide spiritual balance and elevation for Pushya's Venus. Ether tattvas support all elements, allowing Pushya to express its emotional care in expansive and soulful ways. These pairings often bring karmic bonding, where intimacy feels spiritually guided. Ether helps Pushya expand beyond emotional containment and engage in more intuitive, fluid, and forgiving forms of closeness, particularly in mature or dharmic relationships. With air or fire partners, Pushya Venus may suffer emotionally. Fire's need for assertion can overwhelm Pushya's emotional reserve, while air's mental detachment may make Pushya feel neglected or misunderstood. These combinations often create cold intimacy or passive power struggles unless there are strong Venus-Moon aspects or supportive Navamsha placements indicating emotional maturity and conscious effort. Venus in Pushya flourishes most when paired with water tattvas for emotional synergy and earth tattvas for stable, physical closeness. Ether tattvas elevate Pushya's grounded love into soul-level devotion. Fire and air nakshatras, though possibly exciting at first, generally do not align with Pushya's core need for nurturing, safety, and sustained emotional warmth. In long-term partnerships, tattva compatibility is vital for Venus and Pushya to express intimacy in a way that feels sacred, protective, and enduring.